Всім привіт! Вітаю вас на своєму YouTube каналі. Мене звати Сергій, і я продовжую свій марафон англійської мови по програмі, яку я створюю для того, щоб системно вивчати мову, не відволікаючись на якісь організаційні потреби. Вже багато разів говорив, повторюсь, якщо ви тільки почали дивитись з цього моменту, наприклад. В рамках програми я створюю конспекти, я створюю необхідну кількість застосунків для того, щоб проходити сам марафон для генерації аудіоподкастів. Крім того, є застосунок і словник в Анкі, який вже створений для того, щоб якісно вивчати слова і швидко. Тобто там не просто переклад, наприклад, і зображення, там також багато прикладів, багато вправ різних на аудіювання, на написання, на пригадування через мнеми історії, через аудіо, через приклади, так само підстановку слов. Там є досить гнучка система рандомізації і розбита на 4 етапи вивчення. Тобто перший – це картки запам'ятовування, другий, третій етап – це практика з аудіюванням, написанням, пригадуванням слов, перекладом з англійської на українську, з української на англійську. І четвертий етап – це розширення словника, який за допомогою синонімів, тобто у вас є слово, і ви пригадуєте, які в нього є синоніми. Крім того, в Анкі також я створив застосунок для швидкого додавання нових слів, фраз, ідіом до словника, для того, щоб не відволікатись на наповнення самого словника. І це не просто проста картка, це розширена картка, яка додає одразу, завантажує аудіо, навіть озвучку до прикладів через TTS гугловський, завантажує фото, зображення, які релевантні максимально з стоків, і розширює необхідні поля, наприклад, мнемоасоціації, поля, яких не вистачає в кембриджському словнику, за допомогою штучного інтелекту. І всі ці поля вони одразу наповнюються в Анкі-словник, по якій потім йде навчання по 4 цим вправам. Так. І загалом, тобто ця програма в рамках цього марафону комплексна, вона якраз створена для того, щоб допомогти, поставити цю систему собі, підкоригувати під свій рівень, налаштувати складність і, обираючи певні історії, в рамках марафону йде розбивка на спринти, і кожен з вас може підбирати, наприклад, тематики, які його цікавлять, історії, наприклад, або можна взяти одну книжку якусь і на марафон розподілити цю книжку по главам, наприклад, або навпаки робити дуже різні історії, таким чином ускладнюючи собі процес. Як на мене, ця система досить гнучка, вона дозволяє легко відслідковувати ваш прогрес за кожен марафон глобально, тому що йде тестування на початку марафону, в кінці марафону, і скоро, в принципі, я теж дізнаюся, які результати я отримую за цей марафон. Але крім цього, за кожен спринт є також додаткові формочки, які дозволяють в процесі відслідковувати, який процес, що зараз зроблено погано, що добре, і покращувати в наступних спринтах те, що не вистачало в попередніх. Таким чином, коригуючи цей марафон під себе, доналаштовуючи, але щоб це не займало велику кількість часу. Сьогодні в мене 39-й день марафону. 39-й. В мене залишилось всього 3 дні ще. Сьогодні в мене буде Невеличка практика. Я роблю зараз практику читання на початку. Невелику. Потім пройдусь по граматиці, вправи з штучним інтелектом. Ну, а далі подивимося, що він мені запропонує. На попередні дні в мене був аудіювання, в мене був диктант минулий раз. Це дуже класно. Теж покращує прогрес. Я сьогодні прочитаю тільки part 1, завтра прочитаю part 2. David and Emma looked at each other across the table. The young couple were happy. The food was delicious, the light from the candles was soft, and the music was perfect. David looked at Emma's beautiful smile. All the pain of his last breakup disappeared. All his doubt and fears about love had gone. His hand reached out and touched hers. I want to ask you something. David searched her eyes. Could she guess what was coming? Her smile made him feel brave. She held his hand. Don't worry. Whatever it is, I'll probably say yes. He felt so excited. He was about to ask the most important question of his life. From the corner of the restaurant, a strange man watched them. He was very still and at his table. He held a menu, but he wasn't reading it. Instead, his cold eyes looked only at the young couple. Back at the table, David suddenly felt nervous. "Excuse me," he said to Emma. He pushed his chair back and went to the toilet. As he looked in the mirror, he told himself, "Come on, David, come on, you can do this, mate. She's crazy about you." Feeling ready, he went out of the bathroom. He almost walked into the extremely tall man who was waiting by the door. The man's eyes were a cold, bright blue. His face was pale, with a sharp pointed nose and thin pale lips. "Oh, sorry," said David. "Which one?" the man hissed. He spoke with a strong and strange accent. David had nervous heard that accent before. For a moment, David was confused. Then he realized what the other man meant. "Oh, this one," said David helpfully. "This is the man's toilet." David went back into the restaurant. He reached for the ring in a box in his pocket. It was time to ask her. The taxi ride home was wonderful. The happy couple discussed their future life together. They shared their sweet feeling about each other. "The night I ask you to marry me," said David. "The night I say yes," replied Emma. "Just think, your whole life together. Sharing, caring," he began. "Loving, giving," Emma finished his sentence. They smiled at each other in loving excitement. "You are so wonderful," said David. "And you are absolutely beautiful," Emma said. "I've never met anyone so lovely and kind. I'm so happy I could sing." They entered their block of flats, holding hands. A tall man watched them from the shadows. "Which one?" he asked himself. He watched the building. He was waiting for a light to come on to show him which flat was theirs. 1 minute passed, 2, there it is. The light went on in a third floor window. He saw Emma for a moment as she closed the curtains. How many times had he stood on a corner like this? How many victims had he watched? Many corners, many victims. His pale lips formed in a thin smile. He moved out of the shadow to the door and pressed the buttons for every flat. The vampire was always pleased when people lived in flats. Sooner or later, someone always let you in, silly humans. They thought you were someone's pizza delivery. It was a kind of invitation, and that was all he needed to enter a home. He climbed the stairs to the third floor and walked down the hall. He didn't make a sound. He could hear the young couple laughing and talking. He put his ear against the door. He could hear that they were saying, and he was happy. Young love made the sweetest blood. It was so full of life and energy. I feel as if I am in a film, she was saying. More like a dream, he replied. Yes, a dream, like we are. How lucky we are. Guess who I'll be dreaming about tonight, he said. Who? Her hair smells of roses. She's like an angel. «88». Це чудово. Так. Погнали. Починаю. Це 9-й день марафону. Тут він мені сьогодні написав. Значить, розмовна практика на основі історії, альтернативні сценарії. Придумаємо альтернативні варіанти. У мене 10 хвилин вже йде. Ладно, я буду це на телефоні. Поставив 50 хвилин. Why do you think the vampire asked which one instead of attacking immediately? The vampire because at that night, vampire was so self-confident and he won't choose the sweetest blood for himself, and he and he can choose someone because he because he want sweetest one. Не так скажемо. He was so self-confident and he wanted to choose the sweetest blood for himself. He wanted так я це вже сказав. Друге. What would you do if you were in David's place? If I would be in David's place, I think I didn't heard Emma's what Emma said because of adrenaline, and I'm looking for some stick to fight with vampire and find some stick to Як там було слово? To approach. Ну, це я не говорю. If I would be in David's place, I think I didn't hear what Emma said because of adrenaline. And I'm looking to find some stick to fight with vampire. And do you think Emma was right to offer David to the vampire? Why? Why not? For Emma, it's look like they didn't have they didn't have no choice, and he thought it was only one way for still life for he. And he were happy because David started at front of he to protect her. but it's not very. It's not. It's. Yeah. But it's a bad strategy because the vampire can choose he, can choose she, can choose the Emma, and it's better for them in this situation working together for fighting, for beat the vampire, for killing the vampire.
To quarrel.
At the end of the story, the vampire was depressed because David and Emma start argue about who of them need to die. At the end of the story, the vampire was depressed because David and Emma started to argue about who of them звучить. Вроді непогано. Was the ending funny, sad or scary for you? At the end of the story was very funny because it was unexpected funny because usually the vampires are very fast, faster than people. And people can't people have so small chance to life to be life and didn't be and wasn't bite by a vampire. But in this story it's funny because even vampire didn't like the argue. Я не знаю, тут, наверное, треба поставити. Що тут вже є у вас. А, це заперечення. Розмір. Beaten by a vampire. But in this story, it is funny because even vampire didn't like the character. that night he was very confident, wanted to choose the sweetest blood for himself. To choose the sweetest blood for himself. And that night, first thing that night, very confident. Ага. If I would be in their place, так. If I were. Я тут раз думав, що тут майбутнє в минулому. Треба було в минулому все. Якби я був на місці Девіда. Так. If I were in David's place, I think I wouldn't been here. What can I say? Because of adrenaline. I would try to find a stick to fight the vampire and step. Да. If I were, I would. Да, це я трохи затравив цю конструкцію, але я ще не проходив. Didn't hear. Wouldn't hear. Умовна ситуація. Ну, я все почав з would. Окей. I will try. Це помилка опитання двох майбутніх форм. Так, це День. I'm trying, ну да, це бред. Approaching your hair. Звучить, да? Двозначно. До його. Her. Це я щось путаю. Her, his. Step him in the earth. For a minute look. Так. For a minute it seemed like they didn't have a choice. For Emma it looked like they didn't have no choice, and he thought it was only one way for still life for him. For Emma it seemed like they didn't have a choice. It seemed like they didn't have a choice. Заперечне з запереченням, згодом didn't have a choice. And she thought it was the only way to stay alive. And she thought it was only way to stay alive. Так, згодом. She was happy and he was happy. Ну це може там неправильно транскрипція. Дивися. Як буде вдячний? Grateful. Thankful. Grateful або thankful. А pleased – це типа задоволений. Що я постійно слухаю. Правильно, задоволений. Значить, grateful або thankful. Це не да. Будь ласка. І мені того хочеться. Це типа теж. Додам. Так, і так, but it was a bad strategy. Згоден. It was a bad strategy because the vampire could still choose Emma. Because vampire can choose Emma. Could choose Emma. It would be better if they work together to fight and kill the vampire. It's better for them in this situation working together to fight him. Так, if they work together to fight and kill the vampire. Дуже складні речення намагаюся побудувати, треба говорити простіше. I didn't have no, подвійне заперечення. О, це я сказав. Still life – це натюрморт. Stay alive. Не поняв, still life – це натюрморт перекладається. Це прикольно. Це точно сьогодні слово дня, фраза дня. Stay alive. Давай. Все ще живий, да? Типа це натюрморт. Не вмирає, да? Ага. Прикольно. Stay alive. Залишатися живим. Started at front. Краще step in front of her. Start Ну да, step in front of her. Згоден. Краще згодити час, а тут в кінці я ще запутався з часами. It would be better if they worked together. Да, тут красиво. Згоден. At the end of the story, the vampire was depressed because David and Emma started to argue about who of them need to die. At the end of the story, the vampire was depressed because David and Emma started arguing. About which of them should die. Which of them should die. Можна так стати arguing замість Так, п'яте. At the end of the story, it was unexpected funny because usually vampires are very fast, faster than people, and people have so small chance to be alive and wasn't fighted by a vampire. But in this story, it's funny because even vampire didn't like the idea. At the end of the story, it was unexpectedly funny because usually vampires were faster than people. And humans. Да, тут я понял, що тут загально треба було. And humans have a very small chance to survive and not get eaten. Це ж
Right.
But in this story, it's funny because even the vampire didn't like the argument. Argument. Unexpectedly funny. It's a small chance, a very small chance. A very small chance. Wasn't beaten. Not get beaten. Маніяк? Я тебе ждала. Так. Що ми, який фінал придумати? Придумати. Коротше. Okay, the alternative version of the end of the story. After the vampire suddenly opens the door and turn on their room, she was David and Emma was shocked and they didn't know what they can do. But after the vampire said which one, David stayed at front of Emma to protect her. But in Emma's hand, first of all, she feel safety, but actually he start feeling sad and ugly, because why actually the vampire even thought which of them he need to bite, because she know she have sweetest blood than David's blood, and he feel sad about that. How actually the vampire why he think about that? It's clear for her, and she started angrily to vampire. He screamed to vampire about that, and it's take enough time for David to find a wooden pen, and stab him in the heart. And it take enough time for David to find a wooden pen. Те, що я там наговорив. Okay, there are an alternative version of the story. After the vampire suddenly opened the door and turned on their room. Там якось не так було, як він увірвався в це. Suddenly he opened the door and stood there showing his sharp teeth. The couple screamed and... просто he opened the door and stood there. Окей. David and Emma were shocked. They didn't know what they can do. But after the vampires, which one? David stayed in front of Emma to protect her. But in Emma's hand, first of all, she felt safe, but actually he started feeling sad and ugly. Angry. Because why actually the vampire even thought which of them he need to bite? Because she know she have sweetest blood than David's blood, and he felt sad about that. How actually the vampire? Так, значить, виправлена версія моєї альтернативи. After the vampire suddenly opened the door and entered their room, David and Emma were shocked and didn't know what to do. When the vampire asked which one, David started in front of Emma to protect her. At first, Emma felt safe. Час. Якраз розберу. But then something inside her changed. She started to feel sad and even a bit insulted. Why did the vampire even need to ask which one? Wasn't it obvious? Obvious, до речі, да. Можна додати. That her blood was sweeter than David's. She couldn't understand how the vampire had to think about it. This made her angry. She turned to the vampire and started yelling at him. Точняк. Yelling. А я сказав scream. Як сказав? He screamed, no. Ну, теж натянук. At him about how disrespectful and clueless he was. The vampire was surprised and confused, and in those few seconds, David found a wooden pen and stabbed the vampire in the heart. Game over. Turn it on their room. Enter. Шняк. А я увірвався. To break. They didn't know what they can do. Точно. Після not, звичайно. What they do. Ні, чекайте. До цього ми переходимо. Що це ми переходимо? У нас просто work. They didn't know. And what? Так. In Emma's hand, first of all, she felt safe. At first, Emma felt safe. In her hand, at first, да, first, згоден. He started feeling sad and ugly. Ugly ні. She started feeling sad and a bit insulted. Не солений, обережний. Ти мав на увазі емоційний стан, не зовнішність, недоречний. Так, це згодом, це я ще зразу. Because why actually the vampire even thought? Why did the vampire even have to think about it? Why did the vampire even have to think about it? Має бути питальна форма і слово actually не на місці. He screamed. She screamed at the vampire. She screamed at the vampire. I am upset. І от що я путаю, непонятно. Scream at someone. Кричати на когось, звідси не просто at. And it take enough time for David to find. That gave David enough time to find. Take took. That gave David enough time to find it. Так, окей, в мене тільки оце питання в нього. Зараз вже дорозберемо. Трохи вибиваю з часу, але треба розібратися. Непряма мова. Indirect question. Direct. What can we do? Indirect. They didn't know what they could do. Коротше, йде зсування часу назад. They didn't know what they can do. Бо can — це теперішній час, а didn't know — це минуле. Як ми розповідаємо про ситуацію в минулому, ми логічно узгоджуємо час. Думаю так, вони тоді не знали, що могли зробити до цього. Якби дія була теперішня, тоді можна I don't know what I can do. I don't know what I can do. Схожі приклади. Where can we go? He asked where they could go. What can we go? Where can we go? Де ми можемо йти? He asked where they could go. What should I say? She wondered what she should say. When will it happen? They didn't know when it would happen. Клас. Я довольний. Отак от поступово граматику і вивчу. Ну що, дякую за увагу. Сьогоднішнє заняття підійшло до завершення. У мене залишається всього декілька днів з цим спринтом, цією історією. Мені заходить і ця історія, і більше такі якісь складніші історії, прикольніші, там, де розкривається добре сюжет. В принципі, на сьогодні все. Дякую, що дивились, що долучаєтесь. І до завтра. Пока-пока.